Judiciary Committee, the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The chairman just used the term judicial lobbying. Last year, the chairman and two other members of this committee introduced legislation to pack the United States Supreme Court. Last week, for the first time in history, we have a decision leaked from the court. Next week, they just noticed it now. Next week, they're having a hearing on the Dobbs case. And as we speak, people are protesting in front of justices' homes. That's not judicial lobbying, that's intimidation. That is what's going on right now. Guess how many Democrats on this committee, guess how many? I don't know of one, but take a guess. I don't know of one Democrat on this committee, I'll say it this way. I don't know of one Democrat on this committee who's condemned the leak last week. Not one. This is the committee entrusted by the American people with making sure Article 3 of the Constitution works. This is the committee that's supposed to stand up for the rule of law, for separate and equal branches of government. The biggest breach of the Supreme Court in living memory, the Democrats on this committee won't condemn it. Not only will they not condemn the leak, but they won't condemn what's happened in the aftermath of the leak. As I just said, last week, a left-wing group by the name of, quote, Ruth Sent Us, published the private residences of the court's 6 conservative justices and called on those individuals to be harassed and picketed and protested at their home. Abortion activists have held loud, disruptive protests outside the homes of Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Alito, Justice Kavanaugh, where protesters could be heard chanting all kinds of things. The White House initially didn't condemn any of this. In fact, Jen Psaki's only comments were to remark on the passion of these protesters. Only days later did the White House offer a weak statement. The editor-in-chief of a publication for another left-wing group, Demand Justice, tweeted that he was, quote, counting on the court never recovering from the leak. That's dangerous talk. That is just wrong. Democrats today can't even seem to support the fundamental idea that the most important value in the American legal system is our embrace of the rule of law. Just 2 weeks ago, Democrats held a hearing to target Justice Thomas and mused in the press about potential plans to impeach him. As I said, last week we had the leak. Today we have notice of a hearing on the very subject. That's in front of the court as we speak. And the protests are going on. As I said, this is, in my mind, an intimidation effort of the court. It's not going to work. Of course, the ultimate plan is to pack the court, something that has not been contemplated since before World War II. And when the court packing was last considered, the Democrat-controlled Senate Judiciary Committee said it was, quote, an invasion of judicial power that violates every sacred tradition of American democracy. That's just how radical today's left has become. None of this should surprise us. This has been the playbook all along. Remember when Senator Schumer said this, March of 2020, quote, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. Today, the Democrats are trying to move legislation that burdens the Supreme Court with layers of bureaucracy. Don't let them fool you. This isn't about ethics. This is an insurance policy for them. When things don't go their way, they want to have the tools at their disposal to make life hard for the justices, whether that means seeking recusals, seeking impeachment, or just showing up at their house and protesting. They are trying to move this legislation just 1 week after the leak of the Dobbs decision, and while left-wing activists are protesting, as I said, at the homes of these justices. Does anyone really think that the Supreme Court, the administrative office of the courts, or the judicial conference has the time right now, the bandwidth to provide feedback or technical assistance on legislation in the middle of this threat to Supreme Court security? If we're going to put new ethical obligations on a separate branch of government, we should do this on a consensus basis. This is not something to jam through during a crisis. I urge opposition to the legislation, Mr. Chairman, and yield back our time.